Good morning, dear colleagues and friends. I'm grateful for the opportunity to present at this IUD Symposium. Thanks, David, for your invitation. Today, I will talk about IUD usage and the devices in China. The prevalence of concept in China is very high. It's above 80% during last decades. The prevalence of IUD use was about 47 to 48% before 2015. After that year, it's about 42 to 44%. So IUD account for more than 50% of contraceptive use in China. Today, we have over 100 million IUD users, accounting for about 2/3 of the global users. The first generation of IUD used in China is made of stainless steel wire. This slide shows you 5 earlier stainless IUD: ring-shaped IUD, uterine-shaped, twisted ring, steel plastic IUDs. These IUD were no longer in use in China because of their high failure rate and expulsion rate. The earlier version of copper IUD were a combination of first generation IUD with copper wire. A piece of copper wire was placed into the ring, and steel plastic IUD formed the copper ring and the copper steel plastic IUD. And a piece of silicone rubber with indomethacin was added to the copper ring and formed the medicated ring. These 3 types of IUD were not included in the national family planning programs because of their expulsion rates are relatively high. In the next few slides, I will show you several IUDs that are currently used in China. The first one is uterine-shaped copper IUD. Several pieces of copper spiral wire were placed inside of the uterine steel ring. The surface of the copper is 200 or 300 square millimeters. Indomethacin can be loaded in the device and formed a medicated uterine copper IUD. And the Yuangong IUD was developed in China in 1992. There are 2 types of Yuangong that they use the same material as uterine copper IUD, but with different shape. The copper surface of type 1 Yuangong IUD is 220 or 300 square millimeters. For the type 2 Yuangong IUD, the surface area of copper increases to 365 square millimeters. The medicated Yuangong copper IUD is loaded 20 milligram indomethacin, but for the type 2 Yuangong copper IUD, loaded 25 milligram indomethacin. Today, both of the uterine-shaped and the Yuangong copper IUD were widely used in China. Gamma copper IUD is another very popular device. There are 2 versions of gamma copper IUD. Type 1 developed in 1985. The material of the product is the same as above, but it's gamma-shaped. The surface area of copper is 200 to 20 or 300 square millimeters. Type 2 gamma copper IUD was invented in 2000. Memory alloy wire used to form the shape of the device, which is placed inside of the spiral steel wire. The shape of the memory alloy can be changed when the temperature is below 50 Celsius degree. When the temperature is above 35 Celsius degree, the shape of the device can be restored. So one advantage of this device is that there is no need to dilate cervix for IUD insertions. The surface area of copper of type 2 gamma IUD is 250 square millimeters. Type 2 gamma copper IUD contain 25 milligram indomethacin. Flameless fixed copper IUD use was invented by a Belgian doctor. It was introduced to China by WHO in 1990s. The medicated GyneFix is loaded 28 milligram indomethacin. A new type of GyneFix called GyneFix PP was approved for use in China in 2002. It was designed particularly for postpartum women, and this device has a degradable conical head, which helps the device to echo the uterine to prevent IUD expulsion. Both of the GyneFix and the GyneFix PP IUD are very popular in China. T IUD, T220C and 380A were introduced to China in 1980s and 1990s. I think you know much about these two devices, so I won't talk too much about them. But Chinese experts modified the end of T220C like a bow at the 3 end. We call it T220C 3Q. 3Q means the 3 bow end. A T220C and the T220C 3Q are popular versions of IUD used in China. But T380A is not very popular in China today, although it's very popular in many other countries. Multi-load copper IUD was introduced to China in 1984. It is still in use in China, but not very popular. A multi-load copper 250 also introduced to China, but it's no longer used in China today. There are several other versions of copper IUD, including the M copper IUD, H copper IUD, V copper IUD, but the number of users is very small. I won't talk too much about them. Next, I will show you some results of the studies with good quality, which compared effectiveness and safety between different IUDs. A large RCT study was conducted in 2004 to compare the effectiveness and safety of 7 types of IUD commonly used in China. As shown in this table, the 1-year rate of pregnancy was significantly lower in medicated Yuangong and medicated gamma copper IUD than others. The 1-year continuation rate for medicated Yuangong and medicated gamma and T220C were about 95%, which were higher than other 4 devices. This slide shows you the result of a systematic review. With respect to the rate of pregnancy, expulsion, and continuation, medicated gamma copper IUD were all superior to T220C. The pregnancy rate and the expulsion rate of medicated gamma IUD were similar to uterine-shaped copper IUD, multi-load 375 and T380A, and also V copper 200. But the removal rate due to medical reason and the continuation rate were favored gamma copper 200. These slides show results of another systematic review. They also concluded that the effectiveness, safety, and the continuation rate of GyneFix 330 were similar to those of T380A, but superior to T220C. As I having discussed above, indomethacin is loaded in many versions of copper IUD to prevent side effects. A study in 38 women showed that the menstrual blood loss in medicated gamma copper IUD were lower than that of copper T220C users during the first year. But the blood loss of the two devices were similar before IUD insertion and at the 24 months of use. Comparing the use of GyneFix IUD without indomethacin, the menstrual blood loss is significantly lower in medicated GyneFix users at the first and the third months of use. The blood loss in medicated GyneFix users was almost not changed within the 6 months of use, but the blood loss in the non-medicated GyneFix is significantly higher after than before IUD insertions. A popular medicated IUD used in China today include medicated gamma copper IUD, medicated Yuangong copper, medicated GyneFix, medicated uterine shaped copper IUD. There are multiple IUD insertions and removal performed in China every year. As shown in these tables, the net increase IUD use was more than 4 million before 2015. After that year, the annual net increase less than 1 million. This result is probably due to the relaxation of the Chinese strict population policy in 2016. Many contraceptive users switched to the short-acting method, in particular condoms. That's the end of my presentation. Many thanks for your attention.